So we have, of course, not virtual but physical, a very dynamic leader, woman leader, Beverly Hill, especially flew this morning from Texas, and she is the founding and president of Gendercide, a big movement for women's rights and deprived women, and she is a very big friend of causes dear to Kashmiris. So Beverly, please welcome, come and join. Thank you.
Thank you to the Kashmir Global Council for the honor of speaking today. I especially want to thank President Farouk Siddiqui Saab and the directors that I know, Raja Muzaffar Saab, Mujib Qazi Saab, and Shahab Karni Saab. I also look forward to meeting many other directors that I haven't yet had the pleasure to talk with. Thank you to all of the listeners for caring so deeply about Kashmir and making the effort to come today. In Africa, there is an expression: when elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. I don't need to explain that metaphor. We know that the rights, dignity, and prosperity of the Kashmiri people have been trampled underfoot by two occupying powers. The oppression and abuse they have meted out have completely delegitimized their already illegitimate presence. It is time to send the elephants home. I stand here to express my solidarity with the people of Kashmir and to endorse their call for independence. It is time to free Kashmir from a binary choice forced on it in haste by a departing colonial overlord. Nearly 75 years have passed since Great Britain left. The question is no longer whether Kashmir should accede to Pakistan or to India, but rather, how can Kashmir release itself from all powers to become an independent country? This is personal for me. I advocate for women who lack the most basic human rights, freedoms, and ability to govern their own lives, particularly Dalit women, indigenous women, the women of Afghanistan, and women of color in the United States. I align myself with women who are overpowered and dominated, women who have no power except the power of their own voices. There are strong parallels between women's struggles and Kashmir's struggle. I support your cause, just as so many of you have supported mine. And for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. As human beings, we are at our best when we say to someone else, your problem is my problem. That is how we love each other. If we want to extend that love beyond our personal circle to people we do not know, we do that by upholding justice. We insist that people we do not know be treated fairly and with dignity. That is what you do, that is what I try to do, and that is how our separate struggles become interlinked. When we lock arms, when we support each other in pursuit of justice, we are more likely to succeed. Now is the time to lock arms regarding Kashmir. 2 years have passed, more, since we were jolted by the news that India had annexed Kashmir and sent hundreds of thousands of new troops into an already heavily militarized area. We watched in horror as civil rights were suspended and brutality was unleashed. We read of summary arrests, journalists who disappeared, civilians in lockdown, and armed forces maiming and killing with impunity thanks to a law called AFSPA. When the country receded from view under a news and internet blackout. When Kashmir emerged again, the shocking developments had hardened into the new normal. Never had the Kashmiris' call for independence been more justified, and never had hopes for self-rule seemed more out of reach. I want to remind my fellow Americans of our own war for independence. The noble and sonorous phrases we love to quote emanated from that struggle. We hold these rights to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Kashmiris aspire to those rights too. Or consider this very daring statement, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. These principles are stitched into the American psyche. So how can we be deaf to the Kashmiris' plea for the same freedom and right to self-government? How can India, who fought the British 170 years later for the same reason that we did, not sympathize? And what about Pakistan? Pakistan was born of fear that rights and freedoms would not be protected in a new India. Consistency demands that we support the oppressed party in each of these struggles. Today, that party is Kashmir. All of you in the Kashmiri diaspora are trying your hardest to muster support for an independent Kashmir. You are struggling and sacrificing, and believe it or not, some of us are listening. Fighting injustice can be exhausting, though, even demoralizing. When I feel discouraged or tired, I look to Dr. Martin Luther King for inspiration and encouragement. If anyone had a right to feel defeated, discouraged, or just weary of it all, that man did. He never underestimated the size of his struggle. He said, "Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals." Yet even while viewing the situation in the harsh light of reality, Dr. King stood tall in his optimism. We must walk on in the days ahead with an audacious faith in the future, he said. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Here you are today with your tireless exertions and passionate concern. If Dr. King were here, he would find beautiful words to blow wind in your sails. You would leave this room with his wind beneath your wings. I am no Dr. King, but let me give you some encouragement. It is only because you all spoke out that I am here today. You spoke, I heard you, and you have inspired me. Because of you, I will continue calling upon my fellow Americans to make our foreign policy consistent with our democratic principles. We will continue urging our members of Congress to create a pathway toward Kashmiri independence. We also will press for freedom of speech and political expression, military accountability, an end to arbitrary arrests and detentions, and reintroduction of human rights observers and journalists. When elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Let us send the elephants home. Thank you so much.